This is National Chess Master All Rats at chess.com, continuing my video series on the correspondence team match between my video lessons group and the team CARPE DIEM. This was played on board 19. Our man is Bogachiel, and the rating advantage is high 2000s versus low 2000s. And I'm happy to say that both players looked up their moves in the books. You know, this is the way you learn an opening. You get a chance to play over the lines, see which ones you like, which ones you don't like. I can't say exactly how deep they studied them, but the appeared to follow published theory for about 24 moves, at least according to one source I checked. So we have the Ruy Lopez opening, and of course there's many. What's it doing? Backing up things without me even clicking back arrow. Okay, come on, version 3. Let's get that out. All right. So they're following mainline theory. Of course, there's countless other variations in this, and to explain it, this video would explain the ideas behind all of them. This video would last 5 hours. We're not there. Okay, so come on, move forward. I'm going to sit here and wait for it. I've clicked the arrow. You know, this thing lags. Maybe it's my internet connection. Let's try it again. There it goes. Oh, see, that back did 2 moves in a row. Okay, so I was waiting all that time. So black could play castles. I'll just mention this. He could castle and opt to try to go into the Marshall variation. And now here I'll make a note. H3 is the recommended move. White wants to play D4, but if White does D4 right away, Bishop G4 is a very annoying pin. And here I've been talking about these rook pawn moves being bad, and yet here we've seen A6 on the third move, right? I didn't even mention that because this is known as the Morphy defense. Paul Morphy, famous chess master of days gone by, popularized this variation. But again, you know, D4 is met by Bishop G4. I knew this when I was 1600 strength, okay, or lower. And then black has a lot of counterplay against the white center, and it's pretty much beyond the scope of what we're doing. But the grandmasters have determined this is the correct move, and now black opts for the what they call the Breyer defense, B-R-E-Y-E-R. I think Spassky was a proponent of this variation. It should lead to an even game, and that's what happens. They reach, you know, when you play 24 moves of theory, that's what's going to happen. Okay. There's countless offshoots, other moves, various moves have been tried. You know, if you're going to play these variations, you have a chance to look them up and as I've said, and go into the detail. Me trying to describe all the different variations, you know, now this video would last 20 hours. There's thousands of games reached with this position. Say that even these variations have held the test of time. Neither side has a weakness that can be exploited. Now, technically, you could say this pawn on h3 has weakened the white pawn structure, but development isn't complete yet, and there's no way, shape, and form that black is going to be able to exploit this. So, you know, the game is just known to be balanced. And now white's redeploying his queen knight to the king side. Why? Well, he wants to attack on the king side. It's that simple. Okay. Now, black creates a weakness, but takes some key squares away from white. You know, white's knight would like to go forward if he could, and black is here to stop that. And now a little counterplay on the queen side, and black expands on the queen side himself. And now comes d5. Now the position takes a closed structure. What is white trying to do? Well, he's still going to try to attack on the king side. What's black going to try to do? Well, he's actually going to try to do something on the queen side here. And his next move advances his pawn. This clears the c5 square. Black may want to put a knight here. Counterplay on the e-pawn. It opens up a diagonal towards the king. All kinds of possibilities here. But again, the position is pretty much known to theory as equal for, I guess, a century or anybody yet. Okay, and again,
there's many different ways to play this position. We're just gonna go with what happens. Okay, so does create a weakness, a possible target on h3. Okay. Now the knight does come into c5, and black doesn't mind if he ends up getting a double pawn, because this does slightly increase the scope of this black bishop here. Okay. And eventually, you know, these queenside pawns could be advancing, and this bishop could really spring to life. And even though white would have a protected passed pawn, that's not something he's going to be able to use to try to get anywhere with until the ending. And we're still in the opening, okay? And believe me, we're still in the opening. It is, because it's published theory, and you know, and the pieces aren't entirely developed. So move 19, we're still in theory, and believe it or not, we're still in theory. So both players are doing their homework. I don't know how deep they looked at their various variations, if they just picked something. I can't answer that, but if you're going to follow theory, you have a chance to do, which is what I recommend. Study the various lines. What positions are you comfortable with? What positions don't you like? Do you see an idea you might like to try? Make notes. I had to keep them all by hand back in the days before computers when I was playing correspondence chess. I have pages and pages of notes with not only recopying theory from 10 different spots, so it would have been one convenient spot, but all my own ideas. Anyway, and we're just about to leave book. I think right here is pretty much where it ends. Let's get, come on, make the move. Oh, it did. Okay. The rook went back to f1. So maybe white's envisioning playing the pawn to f4 later. You know, and this rook does move in the opening to secure the e4 square. So it's a perfectly logical move, and but again, both sides are quite safe and solid. Neither side's bishop is doing a lot. Come on, move forward, please. There it goes. Neither side's bishop is doing a lot. The black knights look a little better than the white knights, though. Why do I say that? Well, because one's got a nice spot on the fourth rank, black's fourth rank, c5. It can't be evicted by a pawn. Yeah, you can play b4. Well, you just take en passant. And it's backed up by another knight. And for what it's worth, it is applying pressure to the white pawn on e4, whereas the white knights are both defending pawns. It's eyeballing the d3 square, so white's kind of tied down to defending that square with his bishop. Neither side can really do much. And the game continues in equal flavor, but black starts taking a little action himself. He says, okay, I'm just going to take squares away from your knight. Now, well, one thing about doing this, you have to ask yourself, are you driving that knight to a better square? Well, think about that. Well, then I can go to h1, but then its only exit route is f3, which is occupied. But that might be an idea. And, you know, you do want to think about these things, because when the knight gets to f2, where can he go next? Hey, he can get to that hole on g4 that black just created. So knight h1 might not be a bad move, because black's certainly not going to generate a whole lot of activity out of this position. You know, he still has queen rook undeveloped, okay? By going to e2, you have to ask yourself, where's that knight going next? See, come on, like the move. Stop lagging. Try it again. Yeah, see, 2 moves in a row. Bang. So you go to e2. Where's that knight going next? Well, it's not going anywhere forward. Okay? So where else is it going? Well, it can go back to c1. Then where's it going? I guess it's going to a2. Then where's it going? Hey, we can get it on b4. Do we really want it on b4? I don't know. How about g1? Well, the king's in the way, so we have to stop and get rid of that, move the king out of that square. Then it can come to f3. Hey, then it's got some pressure. So maybe this is something white should be trying. But since I mentioned knight h1, let's just have some fun and look at it. Now, black played f5 in the game, so let's go ahead and play that now. And f3. Now, if black locks up the pawn center, that's no good. I mean, or not the pawn center, locks up the king side. I don't think that's any good. If black is trying for a win, and it looks like black is trying for a win, what's the alternative? Well, he could take here, and we'll just assume he takes with, let's take with the knight. And let's take with that knight, just to get rid of it. And let's take back with the pawn. And since we liked having a knight there, let's bring him back. And here comes my idea, knight f2. Maybe white doesn't want that knight going there. Now does black or white try bishop d1? Okay, I don't know. Does he try it? What's black going to do? Well, it's just an idea. The game is still objectively even. And this is one thing I discovered years ago about playing popular lines in over the board tournaments. Your opponent would know them as well as you do, and you'd be left with a position that you couldn't win from because you just didn't have much going for you. Well, you had a solid position going for you, but it basically came down to who was the better player. But you can go wrong real easily too if you're following theory too long. Maybe your opponent happens to know a few intricacies a little better than you do and catches you in a book trap. Whoops. He didn't even beat you with his own mind. He beat you because he knew theory. He studied theory more. And that's a perfectly legitimate way to score a point. That's what they do in at the top levels. I don't know. I guess I'm a purist. I like to see you create on the board your own masterpieces. That's one reason I like Fischer Random Chess or Chess 960. Okay, so F5. Let's get back to this. I'm trying to make this video entertaining because it gets spoiled by a blunder here in a few moves. I still think the game is subjectively even. And here black makes an interesting choice. He's willing to exchange queens and accept double pawns. And let's look at this, and white happily accepts. It gives black an extra file to work on, the G file. It also those pawns are taking squares away. Remember when I was talking about white getting the pawn or the knight to G4? Well, you can't do that now. Technically, you could say these pawns are weak. Let's see. What if white plays? But for the moment, white's down a pawn. He needs to get it back, and that's what he does. And here comes the blunder, right? What white needs to obviously play is bishop takes e4, and the game is, it's a game. Who knows what's going to happen here? I still think the game's subjectively even. Black can generate counterplay on this pawn. Maybe he will lose one of these pawns. But is there enough to win here? It's a very good question. In theory, probably no. In practice, anything can happen. But what happens is white inexplicably, for whatever reason, forgot that black had taken a piece and he doesn't take it back. Whoops! And now white's just down a piece. And the whole game is spoiled, and the rest of the game bears no comment. Black doesn't make any mistakes. Now there's potential back rank threats. Black's just a piece up and can win it pretty much any way he wants. I'm trying to click forward, and it's not moving. And now it'll probably, see, there it did. Any second now it'll.
But like I said, there's not much going on here now. And black is just dominating this position, a clear piece up, and white can't get anywhere. And
white's got a pass pawn, but it's not going anywhere. It's been stopped. Black has an extra piece, and it's not. Oh, that's where it ended. It's really hopeless. If rook f8, for instance, just g2, and the threat is to make a queen. I think you can handle the rest. But let's just back it up for a second. To when he didn't take the piece back, what happens here? Good question, right? What happens here? Well, let's see. Black can play knight c5 and tempo the bishop. He can play knight f6 and tempo the bishop. But maybe this pawn could be weak. I don't know. Let's back this up. And if anything, let's just go grab a pawn. Okay. Let's see now. Here's what I do. I'm not saying this is the best line. I'm just making moves to analyze. Now what I'd like to do, with white is get a rook here, but I can't. Or get a rook here, and maybe I can. Okay, and we do it this way. Pawn takes. Now, if black takes back with the pawn, white takes on a8, and then he's going to get that in, right? So black has a choice. He can take instead here. But in either case, black may lose the pawn, one of those advanced pawns, but black's got a pawn majority on the queen side, and maybe doing something in there. Well, let's see. Let's just go attack the rook because we can. Maybe that pawn is, white should grab that pawn. This might be double-edged. I'm saying this simply because the black rook is going to be active, and the black pawns are a little more advanced than white's potential 2-on-0 pawn majority. You have to you look at this and you say, what's happening here? You have to stop and analyze this out carefully. That's how you succeed at chess. Because if you don't pick the right path, you're going on. Now, by no means was knight f6 forced, right? There's nothing forcing black to play knight f6. What if he goes this way? Okay, knight c5. Now the difference is on bishop. If bishop f3, the f-file is blocked. So white still doesn't have time to take here. He's got to deal with the bishop. He could take on f8 with check, but that might just bring this rook over. So if you want to keep the f-file open for the rook, but then again, black can neutralize this. Rook takes. So maybe knight c5 is a better move, just based on what I've shown. That's what it looks like. And if you're playing a game, you take these a little further and decide which one was better. I don't attempt to create a perfect video and show you exactly what should happen, because I think that's wrong. There has to come a time when you fend for yourself. And if you're shown the best move, what do you learn? Here I'm giving ideas. I'm testing some ideas. Let's look at this. I don't think enough top players will tell you that grandmasters look at bad moves. They do. How do you find out if they're bad? Well, two ways. You analyze them carefully and correctly and realize they're bad and you can't do it. Or you play them and your opponent shows you why they're bad. You with me on that? See? There you go. Analyzing for yourself and evaluating a position. That's how humans have been winning. Grandmasters have been winning games for over 100 years, and amateurs of all skill levels are doing the same. And online chess is a great way. I'm just calling it correspondence chess. I don't like the name online chess because that's not what it is. Okay, it's correspondence chess, postal chess. The postman has been taken out of the equation. All right. Of course, maybe there's better. Maybe I didn't find the best line, but I'm not playing this game. I'm just showing you how to analyze a game. All right, let's move on to the other game and see what happened there. Let's see, not that one. I've already done that. Whoops, this one. No. Where is it? Don't tell me I have two of the same. Come on. There it is. All right. This wouldn't come up. You can't see it off to the side of my screen. Okay. Now our guy has white. I load the game, and we always wonder what move number it's going to start it at. Sometimes it's supposed to start at the beginning. Hey, look, it did. If you're watching enough of these videos, you'll see it starting all kinds of moves. All right. This one follows theory. Not quite as long as the other one, but again, I'm happy that they're following theory and not just playing bad moves because they don't know theory and don't realize you can do that. I'm still writing it to people that don't realize you can look up the book moves and even move the pieces when you analyze. My goodness. The internet has truly changed chess. Look up my blog series. Okay. So this is still theory, so I'm not going to talk about all the various tangents. Now there's a little fork threatened, which white defends against. And let's see, why did it back things up? Huh. Version 3, please get here. Okay, Queen E2. I think this is where theory ended. This seems like an odd move, but it's not something white can easily refute. How do you get rid of the defender? Well, you don't. It's not that easy. So what's this bishop doing here? That in turn is a good question. Keeping pressure on A4? Well, that's overprotected by a knight on C3 and A1. Trying to limit this bishop so that it can't come back to this square. You need to attack it again. How are you going to do that? That's 2 moves to do that. So I don't quite understand the idea behind this move, but I'm attempting to illustrate it. So maybe black would be just better off by developing a piece. Okay? Get rid of castle. Okay, so how does white handle this? Well, he plays bishop d2. And again, black delays castling and offers a piece trade. So it seems like black has just lost a tempo. Couldn't have black have, because what's going to happen here is, see what happened? The bishop took 2 moves to get to e4. So was there something wrong with just putting the knight on e4 to begin with? That's the first question I asked myself. Why not do this? Now, if knight takes, and there's no rule saying, I'm just making an illustration, bishop takes, it's white to play here, right? Now, let's look at the way the game actually happened. Let's do a comparison to illustrate the point graphically. Let's find it here in the nested PGN. Okay, here it's white to play. And I watch black's position won't change at all. And watch white's. See, all that changed with white's was the bishop went to d2. So black has parted with the tempo. Now, maybe there's a reason why you can't take, but this is how we analyze. We can't just say, oh, you can't do that instantly because of this. Well, yeah, if we prove that that knight e4 can't be played here, then we can give black a feather in his cap for spending a tempo in order to do what he was doing. Okay, because he's proved that he can't play knight e4 here. Whoops, not quite in this position. We're looking at it in this position. So let's see. Is he afraid of this move? I don't know. We're trying to find out. We're analyzing. Okay, well, for one, we can take this knight. Wait a minute. Yeah, let's just take it. Okay. Oh, we've got a tempo here. We're on 2 pieces. Look at that. See? So, unless black can find a clever move, he's going to drop a piece. So that might explain why he played bishop c2. He might have been afraid of g4. Well, should he be afraid of g4? Well, for one, could black just go pin that critter? Okay, now black's threatening to win a pawn. Okay. Now let's see. I'll suppose black plays knight, or white plays knight takes, and you take here. Now we chase the queen out. And maybe you should be afraid of g4, but maybe not. You know, I was trying to preserve the bishop and not see it traded off. Let's just come back here. Okay. Now, if white wants to take, oh, yeah, here. See, we've solved it. Okay, so give up a piece. So now we've solved why black did not play, why black played bishop c2 with the idea of knight e4. But was that his best choice? I don't think so. I think bishop e7, you know, is a better move. You know, you're breaking one of these old things the masters have told us for years. Don't move a piece twice in the opening. Okay, that's true. Both sides have moved a piece twice in the opening here, right? The white knight didn't get to e5 in one move, and the black knight didn't get to b4 in one move. But at the same time, bishop e7 does develop a piece and prepares you to castle. This bishop won't help you, and this rook won't help you if they're not in play. So what's white going to try to do here? Play g4? I mean, just doing this to try to get the bishop pair. That's what I'm trying to do. Some people are particular about their bishops. They don't like losing them for knights. It's just, their own personal choice. Well, for what it's worth, black has the open H file. His king seems at least now to be safe on E8, but he can even castle this side, and maybe black just didn't want this position. I can't answer. So let's move on, and we'll see how black's plan backfired because he fell behind in development. Okay, so we reached. Let's see, bishop went to c2, bishop d2, and then the knight came here, and now white decides, well, I'm going to develop my queen, attack your bishop, and pressure your g6 pawn. I'm sorry, your g7 pawn. So a logical move some of us might make is just bring the bishop back here. Some of might make. I don't know. Is white afraid of h4 and h5? Doesn't he wants to keep his bishop, or at least trade it off for another bishop? Well, trading off for another bishop seems to make sense. This is black's good bishop here. This is white's bad bishop. But one thing about this good bishop, it's not good unless it's developed, right? It's good positionally, but it's not good strategically. So white doesn't make a move which will develop a black piece. Don't take and let the queen come in, or maybe redeploy this knight. Don't make moves which develop your opponent's pieces. White reinforces. We'll let black make a move which will develop his. Then, hey, look, we've got the rook in play just like that. And that's what happens. Black makes a move which develops a white piece. Now that rook's on the 4th rank, and maybe, just maybe, it can creep around here if you can find a timely way to do that. So black's just made a strategic error. Don't make moves which improve the position of your opponent's pieces. Okay? If you wait and let him take, the queen will take back. The queen can take back and get developed. Or you can choose to take back with one of your pawns and take the c4 square away from white. White can't use it. Okay, so now the queen comes to f6 so that the bishop can develop. But all of a sudden, there comes a little trick here. And the trick is that this queen is not going to have too many places to go in a minute. That gives him back g4. And finally, here at move 18, black develops his bishop. But it maybe went to the wrong square. Maybe it's too little too late. But he had to watch out for the threat of bishop g5. That was being threatened. And now the rook comes to c3. There was nothing on the 4th rank, but there looks like there's plenty on the 3rd rank. And now the shortfall in black's bishop c2 maneuver is being exploited. So it seemed like a peculiar move, and we determined a logic why he could do it, but he did it by sacrificing his development and by keeping white from securing the bishop pair. That's not worth getting a bad game or even a lost game, okay? Sometimes you got to give up that bishop pair. You can't have them every game, okay? Black is basically in trouble here. If you castle now, I think you just got your queen trapped. Whoops, where's the queen go? I don't see a safe square unless I'm blind. Nope, that's it. Game over. So black tries this, g5, to create air for the queen, Luft as we call it. Or Luft, I don't know how the Germans pronounce it. I speak English. And hello, queen. So, clearly something has gone wrong with white's game here. How does anyone let a 2000 level let somebody get a rook on their 7th rank and before you get castled? And not only on the 7th rank, but on the f7 square. These kind of things you just don't see at the higher rating levels. And black plays queen h6, and white finds a little tactic here. Rook takes e7 check. Winning a piece because if takes, hey, look, why is it backing it up? I didn't back it up. It did it on its own. Okay. rook takes, king takes, and now here comes the fork. And at some point, this is going to be exchanged, and white has the advantage of a rook for a queen, and I think he has a few extra pawns too, at least one. Let's see, 7 pawns. Black has 5, yeah, 2 extra pawns. A queen and 2 pawns for a rook, so black resigned after rook takes e7 check, and that was the game. So, I always talk about development. Let's back it up one more time. I was saying the theory seemed to end right about here. What do you do when theory's over? Well, develop something. If white really wants that bishop, well, he doesn't have to do it this way. I guess he could try it this way, but that leaves d4 hang. Let's try it this way. And then let's just go develop this bishop so d4 doesn't hang. Now, is white going to force the win of the bishop pair? That's a good question. I guess if he really wants it that bad, he's going to. But, he's weakening his king side. The game's objectively about even. If you don't like losing the bishop pair, then you need to change your opening. Okay? Don't play bishop f5, because that's going to run into attempts by white to trade it off. Learn another line. Anyway, what can I say? Well played. A good competitive game. Just one blunder in the first game, and hopefully the suggestions I've given you have helped. That's why these things are here. Try to get everyone play better chess. I mean, my goodness, if everybody could play master level chess, we'd all get so much better at this game. I can dream. All right, thanks so much for your time. Take care.